Okay, well, greetings Redheads. Greetings from the Redcoin bunker, sort of, second floor office. You can see the flag of Redcoin behind me there on the screen, just trying to block out some glare. Just wanted to do a quick video to, connect back up with you folks, get some info out there, especially in light of all the stuff that's going on. So let's talk about that. So, Redcoin team, project team itself, and all of our closest Redheads are, as far as we know, we're all safe, communicating as normal. We've got meetings going on throughout the week, as usual. The team has, myself especially, been practicing social distancing for the last few years, so it's nothing new. It's the rest of the world's catching up with us now, and it's an interesting way to live, being part of a virtual team, but that's for another time. We are all still working as hard as we can towards our shared goals. As we've stated before, that's primarily right now getting through PoSV v2 activation. That involves building some new versions of the core wallet to accommodate Matt Catalina, as well as incorporate some very important functions of the newer Bitcoin code. Not the newest, we're not even close to that yet. But Bitcoin 0.10 or 0.10 is our next target goal to support the Catalina conversion to the build system that's being used now. It's a bunch of moving parts, as we've documented in sort of some text posts, but we'll talk about a bit more about that later in this video, and also specifically about the wallet. We'll be putting out some videos for folks who don't like to read the long text-heavy posts. I've noticed a bit of that. So, working towards that, planning our first Redcoin virtual meetup. We hope to do something in Redcoin cyberspace to include, as many of our Redheads and potential Redheads, I guess, as we can. Everybody out there is feeling pretty isolated and scared for the most part. We'd like to do something to counter a bit of that. And, again, we've got some ideas towards that end that we'll speak to a bit later. So that's the Redcoin virtual meetup. Soon as we're done fighting the battle to get the core wallet working with Catalina and with those new features, we will get back to ReddID specifically as our sort of reason for ever having Redcoin, using it and holding it, besides all the fun with staking. We obviously have a limitation on people, current events getting in the way a bit, and available funding, to pay for the lack of people if we wanted to go that way. So we are, incrementally doing what we can. Talent on the team's a little light, so again, we make the offer periodically. Anybody who's interested in being a part of the Redcoin project, part of the Redcoin team, you are welcome to give us a buzz, reach out. If, we're not paying salaries at the moment, but that's really, sort of the direction that we're going down the road with PoSV funding, and, we may have some options there. We are not hiring, we're looking for volunteers. We are all volunteers at the moment, and I guess enough said about that. Okay, just playing with a new video recording system here too, and hopefully that will allow us to get some more videos out on a regular basis as well. So talking about the coronavirus for a moment. I know we've all really heard a lot about it, and we'll hear a lot more in the future. But basically, I guess the message from Redcoin as a project and as a family is we hope you're all as isolated and safe and prepared as you can be, following your local guidelines and such. I'm in New Jersey, John's in Australia, other people are on the team, Europe and other spots in the US. Seems like everybody's pretty well situated, and we've not heard any reports of anybody being sick yet, or worse, and we'll leave it at that. So we are continuing dev work. We are coordinating as we can online. We haven't had any tech problems yet. Let's see. So John's in Australia. I'm in New Jersey. New Jersey has been shut down, shelter-in-place order by the government. I'm sure other localities are going to follow soon. It really isn't going to impact terribly much, getting stuff done here. But we'll be on video, I think, quite a bit more and more, being able to address things like that. I've actually built my own little video station here up in my office in the Redcoin bunker. So yeah, look forward to that. And along those lines, actually, we've hesitated as we're kind of doing our development work, as we tend to promote on accomplishments. We've not wanted to do meetups and organizations around the potential of Reddcoin as much as, hey, we've got ReddID, we've got this, we've got that. So we've held off doing some physical meetups as a function of cost and logistics. Well, thanks to the virus, Meetup.com has now changed their policy to allow virtual meetups. So it seems like a good idea, and we've discussed on the team. We'll be putting together the details and really mapping out what that's going to look like. But we'll be doing some regular virtual Reddcoin meetups on video conference and whatever we can put together there. Kind of share a little bit of the Reddcoin love and make sure everybody's engaged, taken care of, not feeling terribly alone and isolated as a lot of folks are. That's part of what Reddcoin is, and I think probably the more important part is the community, you Reddheads, and belonging and having somewhere to kind of check in on you. I think that's important nowadays. Along those lines, it really seems as a group and as a team that we've got sort of an obligation to help out members of our community and folks who are in need as much as we can at the moment. And to that end, we're actually planning to start up a Reddcoin food bank, supply bank, partly donation drive, because a lot of our community members have expressed a desire to sort of help their fellow men and women in this time of need. And we've decided to actually target additional funds from PoSV V2, once that activates, to an ongoing function towards that end, kind of a food bank, supply bank. If you're out of necessities and you desperately need something, this is a place to go. I think for the community and those around us, it's a way we can give back. It's an easy way to sort of coordinate help when people are a little bit desperate times like this. So we'll be talking about much of that in much more detail, along with the meetup that I mentioned. We've got some. It's easy to make the grand announcements, but we'll talk about the details shortly. I really hope that this resonates with a lot of you out there, and that we can pull together some real help and support for those of us that are struggling. It's not fun, and a lot of people are very well set up, more so than they really need to be. It makes you feel good to be able to help people who are not, and who are kind of caught, if not off guard, at least incapable of helping themselves at times like this. It's what it is to be a Reddhead in my mind, and anybody who helps, is going to get bonus points in that book. So I think, just as a final note, if we could turn even a part of Reddcoin and the ReddHead network and community towards that goal, I really think we can achieve some amazing things for people who, otherwise would just not have anyone. So we'll leave it at that. Let us see. Scene transition. Okay. So let's talk about PoSV V2 for a moment, because that really is kind of the important drive for the project at the moment. We are working towards achieving PoSV V2 activation, as we've spoken about a number of times. And I've realized in talking about it on the team and watching the progression, we have two problems. One is that there's no easy way that users can see what the status is if you're not in Telegram, if you're not participating in that chat, and you don't know that that information is actually created by and stored by the client itself. A lot of people have mentioned to me, oh, it's great that that's activated and you guys are all set. It has not yet activated. We are about 62% through. If I take a look at the statistics right now, give me one moment. We are on mainnet at 5726 out of 9,000 blocks. That's 63.62%. And that means that roughly 2/3 of the visible blocks in the last 10,000 blocks have been the new version. A number of people, a lot of people in the ReddHead community have upgraded. We need as close to everyone as we can to get out there. If you haven't upgraded yet, upgrade. It's a very simple process. You can do it in place, back up your wallet.dat file or export your backup file from the client. It's pretty straightforward, and we've built it to be pretty seamless. But in order to progress with these goals and really fund the future of Reddcoin, we need every single ReddHead that's out there and still staking to really help us out and back up the PoSV, supermajority, and consensus so that we can transition. It's going to take quite a bit more. At this point, we've got roughly 5.7 billion Reddcoins in network total stake weight, which means it doesn't take the entire network. It's not a giant proportion of the network. It's 90% of people who are staking. So if you're trading, if you're trying to catch the waves back and forth, that's fine. But maybe if you want to dump them in a core wallet and let them stake, generate some new V3 blocks towards the PoSV consensus, that would be helpful. We typically don't speak to the pricing aspect, but and we will continue not to. At this point, we've seen, I mean, apart from the price specifically, given the financial sort of markets gyrations and what's happening in the traditional financial markets, we've seen some panic selling in general. Difficulty on our network has stayed pretty stable. Price has, as much as we'll speak to it, price has stayed pretty stable, and that looks good, you know, from a market standpoint, from a stability standpoint. But we really do need to help the network evolve to that next level. Our largest market, Bittrex, has refused to help us notify users who are trading there explicitly about the wallet upgrade, claiming that it's a political discussion that they want no part of. So if you know people who are ReddHeads and who are trading on Bittrex, either point them towards this video, point them towards some of the resources on PoSV on the website, for example. I would even say, for example, if you want to point them towards the Red paper, we have this on the website, and not a lot of people have taken the time. The Red paper is our kind of summary discussion of why Reddcoin is what it is and what we're doing. You can click through it, but some of the important stuff really towards the bottom here are retrospective of the last 5 years Reddcoin's been in operation, and our analysis and discussion why we came up with PoSV v2, what it means in terms of a community restitution fund, what it means in terms of a Reddcoin development fund, what it means in terms of charity initiatives that we can participate in on behalf of Reddcoin, as we've decided and mentioned earlier, what it means in terms of a Reddcoin food and supply bank in the necessities to sort of live your life as an offshoot of what PoSV can bring to just moving the technology forward. We want to use it to move the community forward. Part of that is having the community behind us, helping us so that we can help you and we can all generate benefits together. I think that's, you know, a beautiful thing to aim for. I think certainly in uncertain times it's an admirable goal that we all can get behind. There aren't a lot of win-win or win-win-win scenarios out there. I think really to a large degree this is. And again, we're not exclusive. If you want to be a part of the team, you need to just jump in and contribute whatever it is you can contribute. Money, time, effort, expertise, corporate roles, designers, devs. Not only does it take a village, it's going to take an office building. And, you know, we really could use the help for anything that, you know, if the Reddcoin message resonates with you, reach out. info@reddcoin.com. My email address is techadept@reddcoin.com, or you can find us in the Telegram chats pretty routinely. John tends to be coding down in Australia, but he's in Telegram as well, and we're all happy to take questions, answer questions. It's what makes Reddcoin great, and I think if we can get behind activating PoSV together, it really is what will make us special and able to survive an uncertain future together. I think that's really the goal here.
As a summary, for those who don't want to read the red paper, basically what PoSV v2 is an evolution of what PoSV v1 was, which has been running for the last 5 years,
which is a modified proof of stake protocol that it rewards usage and movement and staking as opposed in the form of staking, as opposed to hoarding as most proof of stake or pure proof of stake coins do. The enhancements in PoSV 2 are to multiply the stake rewards that each user is receiving because most of the network is not staking. And typically, that's something that's not addressed in network growth. When it was designed as a 5% a year growth coin 5-6 years ago, we haven't reached that in the last few years because we've only had 19, 20, 21% of the network staking at any given time because there's a certain return reward ratio that people calculate. Well, in this case, what we've done with PoSV v2 is not only reward the users who are actively staking by multiplying that reward by whatever it would take to bring us to that 100% of 5% growth, but also divert a small portion of that towards the dev funding that we've been talking about that will enable these other initiatives, the charity initiative, dev, obviously, operational costs and salary for myself would be just a wonderful thing. And then the ability to really create a resource, a food bank, and some other kind of wraparound services for redheads, and maybe not redheads as well, as people are in need outside the community. Bringing them in doesn't mean you have to hold Reddcoin, but it's more and more a thing that seems like a good idea to do. Just to go back to summarize, so if we have 20% staking participation, 20% of the available coins are staking on the network. When PoSV v2 activates, that will allow a 5-time multiplier. So if normally you would expect 1,000 red coins as a stake payment based on what you hold, after activation you would get 5,000. And then an 8% piece of that would be deducted and sent to that dev fund to be allocated along the lines that we've discussed. That gives you guys as stakers an enhanced benefit and the ability to generously kind of send those coins around and tip and share without a lot of sense of loss. It gives us a little bit of a revenue stream to play with to deal with marketing and PR and support of the actual project. And it really gives us the ability to put a few dollars, as I said, towards sort of a global backstop for people in the community that might need, no more than a few bucks, $100. It's not going to be world changing. Might be for individuals. I think that really is kind of our goal. And we've talked all about that, community restitution. Okay, so where shall we go from there? Okay, so we are still working on Catalina, as I mentioned, Catalina macOS, Catalina support. I will point out that part of the evolution involves features of Bitcoin Core, and I think we mentioned this before. Bitcoin Core 0.10 is the target version that we're incorporating in order to make that change to Catalina support as well as the new build system. You can see that came out here February 2015. So it's already 5 years old. It's technology that basically we're accommodating what Bitcoin did before so that we can accommodate later what they do now. It's one way to leverage what's being done on the Bitcoin development front, which is extensive and well beyond, obviously, the security and implication research that we can do ourselves. But it also brings to us a number of new features, along with increased ability to build reliable, what they call continuous integration building. There are a number of features that have come into play as Bitcoin has evolved that people sort of take for granted on the Bitcoin side and on people who've built with the latest software. Our problem is we've been around for so long as one of the original legacy cryptocurrencies that we suffer from that. Our reference client is horrifyingly out of date. So at this point, we are testing on the testnet version 3.10.0, which would incorporate, that's replacing 3.0 point whatever, and that'll incorporate Bitcoin 10 features in our V3 wallet. That's going to be things like, and you can see here, faster synchronization, something called headers first sync. It's a little bit tricky with Reddcoin because of the timestamp involvement, but John and team have worked it out, and at this point we're testing. Basically that gives us, as you see here for Bitcoin, 3 hours for an initial full sync when it's doing headers first synchronization. That really changes a bigger picture how the blocks are downloaded and organized in the client, and that's required a bit more coding and incorporation of really major changes that need to be tested before we sort of hand them out to the public. It's been tested to a very large extent by Bitcoin, and obviously their progression of testing. We need to do the same with the Reddcoin specific aspects of it. So that's really where we are. I have a reference version of 3.10 running on my machine, as do a few others. We've not had any problems. John is continuing the upgrade. So at this point, we're looking forward to, as you can see, faster sync. There's the option to change the transaction fee behavior. We're not changing fee structures at this point, but it gives us the ability to do so in the future should we easily decide that that's something that needs to happen. There are some economic studies and tokenomic, if you will, studies that need to be done behind that. For the moment, we have no problems, but as the network gets more congested and more used, we ultimately will. It's a scaling issue. So fees may come into play, and we will be opening that up for discussion in the community for those who are inclined. It's a little bit dry and boring sometimes, but it is what it is. A built-in REST interface. For those of you programmers, it's a slightly different interface to pull information from the client. That will be a component of, obviously, of each client. Signing security is another big one that we needed to address. Moving to use this new library, libsecp 256k1, instead of OpenSSL. We'll do a number of things. They're really beyond the scope of this discussion to go into the technical depth there. You guys are welcome to Google and submit any questions that you have, but basically it's a progression that allows us to optimize for better security. And there is a little bit of discussion on this page, bitcoin.org. And of course it's open source and common discussions. You can Google it and see what other people are saying. But that will be a component of the new 3.10 wallets, as well as the ability to watch other transactions other wallets, other addresses for which you don't have the private keys. So for example, if you wanted to track an address that was a donation address, normally you would need the key to add it to your wallet and to see the transactions within it kind of listed in your wallet. Well, this adds support so that you can track a donation address or a corporate address that you're interested in or something like that without having to have the private key to make transactions happen with that address, allowing for a bit more openness and transparency in seeing what's going on in the network. There are added remote procedure calls documented here that are going to be added to the standard suite as we roll this out to address those sort of features. Any programmers among you, any real blockchain folks, you're welcome to dig into this standard 0.10 functionality. And some structural changes in the way the client Bitcoin D is actually operating. So these are being incorporated, and we will document that stuff for release. But basically, it's a set of software changes that not only is going to improve our core wallet without making a ton of kind of cosmetic changes, but position us to be able to build for current Mac OS Catalina, current Linux, Raspberry Pi, Windows, and embedded systems, and be able to roll that forward very easily as we make changes moving forward. That's been a bit of an issue with our build process, and we're really just attacking it all together. So better error handling, better orphan block handling. That's really a reason some of the clients tend to hang up or seem to hang up when you're trying to sync. And that will be built into the new version. John is also incorporating the new Qt version 5, the new Apple Development SDK for all of their components. And that, of course, I think I mentioned explicitly, but Catalina, the font issue that's plagued our Mac OS stakers, should be wrapped into that as quickly as we can get that to the finish line. Let's see what else. We do have some more info coming up on Ripples and our other partners. There's been a bit of transition around that primarily because a lot of the technology, the opportunities that we were looking at with Ripples and TotalView and our other potential partners are very crowd-facing, venue management-facing, working at various shows, various sports venues to address crowds, and that functionality is a bit of a non-starter at the moment. So everybody, as everybody well knows, everybody's pivoting those solutions to be more virtual, more let's say crowd avoiding rather than crowd encompassing. So there's some changes happening there. There's some new opportunities that have opened up in what can be done and how with our partner projects, Ripples and some of the others. And we'll be speaking more to that, obviously, as that sort of crystallizes. That is an important part of Reddcoin's ongoing usability and growth, and the ability to get it out there for people to see and to use in very mundane scenarios, very real world. What is this payment system and how do we use it? But again, it's got to be the right fit and the right cost and the right business opportunity, and that's something that all of our partners and as well as ourselves are really working very hard towards. So more on that later. Let us see. Okay. And fundraising. Not always the most painless of discussions, but basically at this point we are going to be starting, as we can, some targeted fundraising to not just address the immediate needs of the project and to help us get to that PoSV V2 activation. Basically, it's a matter at this point of either making sure that we can reach any and every Reddcoin holder who's staking by doing some active marketing, by doing some active press releases and paid promotion, or are there other alternatives that we're going to need to take, including changing the threshold from 90, which would be problematic, an option but problematic, as we've discussed, because it's really fighting the same battle. We would have to notify everybody to upgrade to that version, call it 3.10, at that point 3.10.5, which has, let's say, an 80 threshold. That would be a little problematic because then everybody who's upgraded to the 90 V3 level would need to use the new version. There's a potential for contentious network behavior. And again, it's a battle that we don't want to get into if we don't want to. That's potentially destructive to the Reddcoin blockchain and network as it is. So our goal really is to push us over that 90% level by whatever means possible. What we found is maybe a bit of paid promotion and making some noise about what it means is the best and naturalist, to make up a word, and most organic way to do it. And that's really in the Reddcoin spirit. So for the moment, that's the plan for the Reddcoin project, is we will continue just messaging what it's about and encouraging redheads to jump in and to contribute. If you'd like to donate to that cause, if you'd like to help get the word out or publish or write or draw or paint or any of that, everybody's welcome to help. Everybody's welcome to try. We're not trying to do this exclusively. We don't need to be approved for that message. The message is what it is. Join us for PoSV V2 and let's make something cool happen on the Reddcoin network. We are organizing some marketing around that, but I would say donations at this point would be immensely useful. Either donating to the primary donation address, which is, we'll attach it to this video and make sure. Whether we divide fundraising up into buckets of, we want to be listed on an exchange, here's funds for that. We want to be integrated into Ledger Wallet, here's funds for that. We want to provide PR and marketing. We want to pay operational costs. We want to pay salaries for the developers like myself and John, especially those of us on the team who have been putting in full time and really, at this point, for myself, I'll leave the specifics out, but things being what they are, it would be a great help if folks could donate. And to that end, we've had a policy on the Reddcoin team of basically saying any donations to date or ever of more than 1 million Reddcoin are going to be reimbursed to whoever the donator is at a time that we have those funds, hopefully just after PoSV activates. And we've worked with that in mind. It's been pointed out to us that some people haven't donated because they feel that their little measly donation doesn't help or wouldn't be useful and wouldn't be paid back. So Reddcoin has always been about trying to be fair and trying to be equitable. I would say that the reason that we've not taken the stance that all donations would be paid back is because it becomes an administrative headache, a nightmare. But realistically, it's a blockchain, and once we have the funding to make reimbursement payments, we could just run down the donation chain and restore payments to those who donated. It does get a little problematic for things like donations through the bot, but we've tracked most of those manually as people have donated, and with our Hall of Fame function there as well. What I would say is any donation of reasonable amount will be considered for reimbursement. Let's say as we get to the stage that we can do that, it is our goal as a project and as a ReddHead community to put as much of the PoSV funds back in the community as we can, either through giveaways or just straight rewarding users for participating, paying back these donations and loans that we've received from incredibly generous people. But also, it's meant to spread around. It's meant to share. If we can get to that point, that would be wonderful. If it takes some community involvement and support to get to that point, it looks like it really does. If you guys could donate and support our efforts so that we can get this done for all of us, that's really all we're after. That, I think, would be something special and amazing. Nobody's really in the Reddcoin world to get rich, but I think in a sense and in a way, we might just get rich together, emotionally, spiritually, if not financially, as the financial systems melt down. It feels good to have all of you out there, know that you're listening, to what I've got to say and what John and I and the rest of the team are doing. We are still on track to build ReddID as a solution, as an online tipping and payment solution that it needs to be. There's some other exciting things around, what we're able to do. Some that we've just completed, forging block and merchant services, payment gateway there you can build into a web shop. We'll be, again, doing some videos on stuff like that shortly, just to help kind of show the community what that really means and what that's doing. We will be planning as I said, the first Reddcoin virtual meetup globally. We're not sure how that's going to look. Might have to run it for 24 hours to cover everybody. Who knows? But apparently there's a lot of redheads out there who aren't going anywhere. Okay, that's really all I've got to say for the moment. I think that went pretty well. And I would say, for the moment, just our priorities are really staying safe, taking care of the people that you love, your neighbors, your friends, your family, fellow redheads, anybody else in your social circles, church groups, lodge, whatever you might belong to. Try to keep your PoSV V2 messaging going when people ask about Reddcoin. And if you can help, whether with the project or if you have ideas to help others, you want the Reddcoin to help make happen, step up. Let us know. Share. There's no shame in trying. Cool things happen because people decide to get involved, and that's really what crypto has been all about. Anybody who thinks they're not qualified to help is just wrong. There are all kinds of needs and all kinds of people required to get this done, and we need all of you for the right reasons and at the right time. Keep your eyes open for the announcement, as I said, first Reddcoin Global virtual Meetup, and just, keep being awesome and loving each other and taking care of each other. It really does help. And I guess let's paint the world red.
Red!